When you talk to a facility, a large building, let's take a 50-story building in the center of Manhattan, that building on a hot August day has a peak demand potential of 13 megawatts. That's a potload of power. However, that same building can typically drop 1.5 megawatts when asked to do so. A couple of things have to happen. First, that building has a facilities manager, and that facilities manager is paid an incentive based on whether or not Mrs. Jones has complained that day. And at the end of the year, that facility manager probably gets a bonus that's at least 5 figures, and in Manhattan it can be 6. And I'll tell you something else about those facilities managers who we stereotype as dumb janitor types. No. Most of them have engineering degrees. Most of them are veterans of the Navy, because operating a large building is very similar to operating a large ship. So again, we have smart people in the right place to do the right things. So the last time I was in New York, I had a talk with a large real estate management company, and we were talking about incentives, and they said, well, you know, we've made some changes in the last year. We basically talked to our facilities manager, and we put him in a contest. The contest was this: who can run a more efficient building? Well, by efficient, we mean who can maintain our customer satisfaction levels while using less energy to do so. And how do you do that? And lo and behold, the facilities managers, now being paid on an energy component, were much more reactive to the needs of the management company in terms of battling the operating costs of those buildings. Schneider, because we make a lot of meters, you may know some of our brands, APC, Square D, Juno Lighting, Velcro Security, on and on and on. We make all kinds of components that can help a manager do that. So we did a couple of things. We said, okay, we're going to put in a few more meters. We are going to show you, for the first time ever, we're going to show you what your building does throughout the day and what the impact of electricity demand is. And this is a building that was built in 1960, full of staff that felt like they knew everything there was to know about that building, coming to us a year later saying, oh my goodness, we had no idea. They learned things like heat and air was on at the same time. Whole floors that had no people in them were being heated and cooled. They have a megawatt of bathroom fans. Now, not every bathroom is occupied 100% of the time, and yet those fans run 100% of the time. It was endless. And so they said, you know, it's nice that we've identified all these opportunities to curtail power, and they were making, you know, by this time they were making $100,000 a year direct to the bottom line through demand response techniques. They said, could you do a couple of other things for us? Could you give us a screen? Now, this isn't Star Wars software. This is pretty simple stuff, really, when you're talking about a building management. And all you're doing is building a loop into that management system that exposes energy use. Could you build us a screen? We've been doing some experiments with our tenants, and we now know how far we can push them before they start complaining. And we've divided that into 8 scripts. And each one of those 8 scripts, I can tell you when Mrs. Jones is going to complain, and I can tell you when Mr. Smith is going to complain, and people like them throughout the building. So what I want to do is this: we're on a ratchet rate. Con Ed Solutions, we're on a ratchet rate, demand ratchet. If we set a new ratchet, a new demand level, we're going to pay more. We're going to pay for that one indiscretion for the rest of the year, unless we set a higher one. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to give me the ability to set this comfort level and this demand limit and let the system fly. Fully automated. It has to be. And tell the system that if we've got too many uncomfortable people and we're right up against our peak limit, sacrifice the peak for the comfort of our tenants, because that is in fact what we do. And it worked like a charm. That 1.5 megawatts became 2.5 megawatts. Demand response became unimportant to them because they were making far more money through the savings and the energy spend. Con Ed was thrilled because they have, like a lot of utilities, they have capital issues on their distribution grid, and they've got a public service commission that would dearly love for them not to spend that money right now. So by doing these kinds of innovative interreactions with people, they could defer capital improvements on million-dollar transformers by another couple of years, and that made all the difference in the world. And so those kinds of programs are expanding.